Welcome to Kangerlussuak. I thought it was Glussuak, but they corrected me, it's Kangerlussuak. So that's how it's pronounced. And there are 45 knots headwind going to Iqualuit, so there's no way I can fly over there at 100 knots, minus 45. I mean, 55 knots, I just don't have the endurance fuel-wise for that long. So I knew that this will be the most difficult part of the flight, primarily because of the weather. Flying here from Iqualuit, the weather was pretty nice, pretty clear, about 150, 180 miles west of the coastline, and then from there all the way almost in pretty much IMC. Picked up a little bit of trace ice, but you know, I was cleared into 11,000 even though I filed 9er. So since it's uncontrolled airspace, I climbed up 11,500 to burn off the ice, but it worked out pretty well. But the winds are so fierce, and I knew that already, that this is gonna be the way it is. So it's just safer to stay put and shoot for another day. Plus right now there's a pretty low, huge low pressure on the southeast coast of Greenland, and I wouldn't be surprised if it would take more than a few days, if I would have to stay that long. I don't know. Anyway, it's fun. Contrary to whatever goes on the internet, here in Greenland, in Kangerlussuaq, the line service is very helpful. They drove me back and forth across the runway because I'm a general aviation aircraft, so I had to park on the other side. They took me right into a place where I could file a flight plan, which is just wonderful, because in Canada it is a nightmare to find a place where I can file something. And customs person came over, stamped my passport, end of story. Didn't ask a question, anything. So I was pretty surprised. It was very easy, and the hotel is right there next to the runway, so it's not like I have to search for anything. There was room available. I wouldn't say it's cheap, but it is what it is. Parking, I think, converting it to US dollars is about 20 bucks a day, so 20 bucks is worth it, because you know, leaving in such huge winds, what's on the east coast of Greenland right now, that's pretty much life-threatening, so I opted to stay here. Interestingly, the wind is 260 at 11, yet they still cleared me and pretty much everybody on runway 9er, so pretty much landed with about 11 knots tailwind. That was interesting. I have to say I floated for the longest time, but I guess it's doable. Now I know it's doable. Plus the runway is pretty nice and long, so no big deal. My Garmin GNS 430 is losing GPS reception quite a few times, even over Canada and over here over the ocean between Canada and Greenland, and quite frankly it's disturbing. On the other hand, my phone and my Raspberry Pi GPS reception receiver has been working flawlessly all the way. So even though the the GNS 430 is the certified instrument, I'm not sure I can trust it. It shows me off track quite a few times. I really don't know what the deal is with maybe there is some way to adjust the GPS receiver or reception on it. I don't know, but it's that was a very shocking surprise for me. And this is the water running from the glaciers. It's so cool. And here's the glacier river I showed you up the hill. So this is the glacier river I showed you about, and just because I'm crazy, I'm gonna stick my foot in there. I have to say, yeah, it's cold. So even though I read everywhere that immersion suit over the water is mandatory, nobody even checked, nobody even cared, nobody whatever. But anyway, I was wearing it. I mean, it's pretty, a good safety precaution, because if there's an emergency, guaranteed there is no time to put that on. Anyway, 5 hours flight in that immersion suit. It's like sitting in a big Ziploc bag and the heat blasting at your feet. So it felt good to cool off my feet. I had to wash my other feet too. It was very hot in the airplane, that's for sure. Meaning my feet, but everywhere else I was cold. I mean, at this temperature up there, it is cold. Very interesting volcanic rock formation, and then all these living things. Actually, I cannot get this drum fuel out of my head. I mean, this is to me it's pretty disappointing, because there's no way for me to calculate the actual consumption. I'm using different RPMs. I mean, I know my plane is burning about 7.4, 7.3 ish, but a lot of times I was going almost full power, just because of occasional headwinds. But I'd like to know at least what I was burning, just to make sure, that my calculations for distance is good. But selling from a drum and you have no idea how much went into the tank is I don't know, I don't like it. But that's the way they sell gas in Canada, in those villages, and I'm lucky that they have fuel there. For my disappointment yesterday, I couldn't leave to Kangerlussuaq, so I have to say the winds were at Kangerlussuaq, it was reported 45, gusting 60. That's pretty much extreme wind. And this morning I got up about 4 o'clock, and there were multiple signets out there for the area. And then 2 hours later, one disappeared, the other one moved north. But I checked windy.com, and on the weather, there is a pretty intense and compacted low pressure there. That means even at 10,000 feet, the winds are pretty strong. And that's a very rugged coastline over there, so that's why there is a severe turbulence signets issued for that area. I mean, there's 4,500 was the ceiling, I believe. I mean, Kangerlussuaq, I know that's the most difficult place to get into, just because of the weather, and just because on the east coast of Greenland there is no other airport whatsoever. So you have to go for sure. I mean, there is nothing else there. and with those winds in the middle between Greenland and Iceland, I would have never made it to Iceland either. So this is very important for pilots, to understand the weather and to know these things, what those isobars mean, what wind aloft is and how they affect the flight. I mean, ballpark, I calculate 20 degrees per 1,000 feet directional difference. The speed, on the other hand, I cannot predict. So you have to also understand, how low pressure and high pressure rotate and the directions. So basically, once you understand that, it's just a waiting game for me. If that low pressure moved north, then the bottom of that low pressure is going to give me a pretty nice tailwind to Iceland. If it moves south, the top of that low pressure is going to give me a pretty strong headwind. That's a no-go to Iceland. So that low pressure is right now still southeast of Kangerlussuaq. So I don't know. I gotta wait. I gotta play safe. There's no other way. There is no other way. So right now I'm just climbing the mountains here. There's nothing better to do. Just to look at the stuff. Hey! Check that out, what's behind me. I climb high enough. You can see the glaciers. Sweet. I'm climbing even higher.